Picture this. It's Christmas Day, 1135. A great feast is underway in the forest of Lyons-la-Forêt in Normandy. The King of England, Henry I, is in high spirits, famously enjoying a dish of lampreys, his favorite eels. Days later, he is dead, poisoned by the feast, they say. And with his death, something extraordinary and terrifying happens. The English state, that intricate machine of law and treasury and royal authority, simply vanishes. For 19 years, it is replaced by a period so brutal, so chaotic, that chroniclers would give it a name that says it all: the Anarchy. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Empire Builders, the rise and fall of civilizations. Henry's death triggered a succession crisis of the most violent kind. He had named his daughter, Matilda, as his heir, but his nephew, Stephen of Blois, moved faster. He raced to England and had himself crowned king. The problem was, Matilda wasn't having it. And so, the two rivals, cousins, plunged the Anglo-Norman realm into a civil war with no clear front lines, no noble cause, just a naked scramble for power. This wasn't a war of set-piece battles. It was a war of sieges, of raids, of betrayal. The state's power had always flowed from the king's ability to enforce law and reward loyalty. Now, with two claimants, that power shattered. The barons, the great landowners, faced a delicious and terrible dilemma. Who to back? Their choice wasn't about principle, but pure survival and profit. Many played a cynical double game, swearing fealty to Stephen, then to Matilda, then back to Stephen, depending on who was winning that month. Castles, the symbols of royal authority, became private strongholds for robber barons. And here is where the true horror for ordinary people began. With no central authority to fear, these barons and their mercenaries, often hired Flemish soldiers, became law themselves. They built illegal castles, not as fortresses for war, but as bases for terror. From these dens, they would ride out to raid, burn, and extort the surrounding countryside. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, written by monks who lived through it, gives us the raw testimony. It says, and I quote, "They levied taxes on the villages every so often and called it protection money. When the wretched people had no more to give, they robbed and burned all the villages, so that you could easily go a day's journey and never find anyone living in a village, nor land tilled." Think about that landscape. Empty fields, smoldering villages, travelers fearing not wild animals, but armed men who owed allegiance to nothing but their own greed. The chronicler concludes with one of the most damning lines in medieval history. They said openly that Christ and his saints were asleep. The genius of the phrase, the anarchy, is that it describes not just political disorder, but a moral and cosmic unraveling. The very idea of order, divinely sanctioned through the king, had dissolved. It was a world turned upside down, where the strong preyed on the weak with impunity. For nearly 2 decades, England was less a kingdom and more a network of armed gangs, each controlling their own patch of misery. It ended, as these things often do, in exhaustion. Stephen clung to his crown, but Matilda's son, the formidable Henry Plantagenet, was now a man. After years of stalemate, a deal was struck. Stephen would remain king for life, but Henry would succeed him. When Stephen died in 1154, Henry II ascended the throne without a fight. The first thing he did? He began tearing down those illegal castles. He reasserted royal justice. He rebooted the state. Reflecting on this from my own perspective as an engineer, what strikes me is the terrifying speed of systemic collapse. Henry I's administration was a sophisticated system for its time. But systems are run by people. When the keystone of loyalty was removed, the entire arch crumbled. The anarchy is a stark lesson in how fragile civilization's infrastructure really is. It's not just about walls and laws. It's about a shared belief in their legitimacy. Once that belief is gone, the darkness comes in fast. The state returned, of course, stronger, more legalistic, under the Plantagenets. But for a generation, England learned what it meant to live in a world where the only law was the sword. For Empire Builders, I'm Ibnul J. Farabi. This production is brought to you by Light Not Studios. Find our archive and more at https://www.lightnotstudios.com.